Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, we're going to start today with a scenario that I think is going to raise the blood pressure of pretty much everyone listening.
Oh boy.
It's Saturday afternoon. Let's say it's 2 p.m. You are standing in the middle of a massive home improvement warehouse. You know, the kind, concrete floors, that smell of sawdust, ceilings a mile high.
I can feel the anxiety already. The project has gone wrong trip, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're holding this weirdly shaped piece of brass piping in your, sweaty palm. You spent the morning watching 3 different YouTube videos on fixing a bathroom faucet. You felt confident at 10 a.m. You were throwing around terms like compression valve and ceramic cartridge. You thought, I got this.
The Dunning-Kruger effect in full swing. You know just enough to be dangerous.
Exactly. But now you're staring at a wall of 500 different fittings. There are bins everywhere. Nothing looks like the thing in your hand. And that YouTube confidence just, poof, it evaporates. You're suddenly very aware that if you buy the wrong thing, you could strip the threads on a pipe inside your wall and, flood your bathroom.
And that's the moment. The script flips. You stop being a DIY maker and you start desperately looking for a safe...
You need the person in the orange apron.
You need the expert.
You need someone to look at that weird brass thing and just go, oh yeah, that's a vintage quarter-turn angle stop. You need the adapter in bin 14. But, and here's the reality check, you look down the aisle, and what do you see?
Nothing. An empty aisle.
Or, if you do find someone, let's be honest, they were hired last Tuesday, they used to work at a bakery, and they are looking at that pipe with the exact same confusion you are.
Right.
So you panic, you grab the part that looks right, you drive home, you force it, it leaks, and you are back at that store Sunday morning, angry and totally defeated.
And it feels like a personal failure, doesn't it? Just bad luck. But if we zoom out, and that's what we're doing today, that Saturday frustration isn't just you. It is a symptom of a massive structural break in the global retail economy.
And that is the core of our deep dive. We're unpacking an article published just today, February 18th, 2026, by Shish S. It's called The Day the Expert Wasn't There. And it explores this exact phenomenon, the quiet disappearance of the specialist.
It's a fascinating piece because it nails this central paradox in modern commerce. Think about the business model of a place like Home Depot or, a boutique wine shop, a high-end beauty counter.
They aren't just selling you stuff.
No. If you just wanted a drill, you'd buy it on Amazon and a drone would drop it off.
Right. You go to the store because you want the assurance that you're buying the right drill.
Exactly. Their entire value proposition is built on that promise of guidance. But the article points out that expertise, that master plumber knowledge, that's the one thing you can't stack on a pallet. You can't inventory it.
Can't stick a barcode on it.
And lately, that expertise has been walking out the door way faster than it can be replaced.
So our mission today is to figure out 3 things. 1, why did the experts vanish? 2, why is traditional training failing to bring them back?
And 3, the really sci-fi part.
Yeah, how are retailers trying to solve this by essentially capturing expertise into a whole new kind of AI model?
And we should be clear, because I know listeners get skeptical about AI solutions.
Right.
We aren't talking about replacing the human with a robot. We're talking about something the source calls the ambient expert.
Which is a fantastic term. But, okay, before the solution, we have to look at the history. Because you and I are old enough to remember when this wasn't such a gamble.
Oh, yeah.
If you went to a hardware store in 1995, the guy in the plumbing aisle had probably been a plumber for 20 years.
That was the old world model. It was all built on apprenticeship. It was very organic. You had the master and the student.
Right.
The senior wine buyer mentored the junior associate. The master electrician taught the new hire on the floor day in, day out. Knowledge was, well, the article calls it sticky.
Sticky.
Meaning it stayed in the building, it lived in the relationships between people. If you had a question, you asked Bob.
Because Bob had seen everything.
Exactly.
But the economic reality of retail has just completely shifted. The source cites some brutal numbers here. In a lot of specialty retail sectors, frontline attrition, that's people quitting, is over 50% a year.
Just stop and think about the math on that. That means mathematically, every 2 years, you have a completely new workforce.
It's like wiping the hard drive.
Totally. Every time a Bob leaves, 20 years of that sticky knowledge just walks out with him.
And at the same time, the time to proficiency, how long it takes to actually get good at the job, has gotten way longer.
Well, it has to. The job is harder. They call it the assortment explosion. A paint department used to have, what, 2 brands and 3 finishes? Now it's infinite. Regulations have changed, compatibility rules have changed, and this is the real kicker. The customer has changed.
Because of the internet. We all come in armed with just enough information to be annoying.
Right. You watch the YouTube video, you have an opinion. So the gap between what you expect the staff to know and what a brand new employee can possibly know is getting wider every single day.
So the article says the expert might technically be in the building, but they're, I don't know, managing the back office or on a different shift. They're just not in the aisle when you are there.
And that mismatch, it costs money. Real money. The article uses this wine aisle example that I think perfectly illustrates the economics of it.
Yeah, let's walk through that. Because I think we've all been this person.
So, customer walks into the wine section. They're hosting a dinner party, making a specific Italian dish, let's say ossobuco, and they want a recommendation.
Okay, scenario A. The expert is there.
The expert asks what they're cooking, their eyes light up, they suggest a specific Chianti Classico. They explain how the acidity cuts through the richness of the meat.
Right.
So the customer feels smart, they feel confident, they buy the $40 bottle instead of the $15 bottle, and maybe they buy 3 of them because, hey, they trust this place now.
Okay, scenario B, the expert is gone.
The customer just stands there, staring at labels. They feel overwhelmed, they don't want to look stupid, so they just grab the safe option, the brand they recognize from a commercial. Or worse,
They just leave.
they get frustrated and leave without buying anything.
And the really insidious part is they don't storm out screaming. It's quiet.
That's why the article calls it a quiet disappearance. Your average ticket size shrinks. Returns go up because people buy the wrong thing. And over time, that trust just erodes. You stop going to that store because, they never have anyone who knows anything.
So the logical question here, and I feel like I hear this from business leaders all the time, is just train them better.
Right.
Why can't companies just have better onboarding? Just make employees watch more videos.
The source hits this head on. It calls it the linear versus exponential problem. And honestly, this is the most important concept to grasp if you want to understand why retail is so broken right now.
Okay, break that down for us.
Traditional training scales linearly. You can pay an employee to watch videos for 10 hours instead of 5. That's a linear increase. But the complexity of the products is scaling exponentially.
Can you give us a concrete example of that? Because I think people assume retail is just putting things on shelves.
Sure. Take kitchen design. It's not just knowing what cabinets you sell. An associate has to understand spatial constraints, gas line codes, electrical load, plumbing compatibility, current style trends.
And all that varies by region, right?
Yeah.
Building codes in Florida are nothing like California.
Exactly. Or look at beauty. A beauty advisor needs to know ingredients, allergies, skin types, and the specific marketing stories of 50 different brands. The source argues it's now mathematically impossible to train a human brain to memorize all of that.
Especially when they might quit in 6 months.
Yeah, so the old download the manual into the brain approach is basically dead. The bandwidth just isn't there.
Which brings us to the pivot.
The big pivot. The article argues that retailers are realizing they need to stop trying to train the human to be the database and start building a database that the human can, wear.
Okay, so let's get into the solution. The article talks about capturing expertise. Now, usually when we talk about AI in 2026, people roll their eyes and think, customer service chatbot, that just apologizes to you in a loop.
Right.
But the source is very specific that this is different.
Very different. We are not talking about a generic large language model, an LLM, like the one you use to write emails. These are SLMs, small domain-specific language models.
Small and specific. Why does that matter?
Well, 2 big reasons. First, accuracy. You don't want your plumbing AI trained on the entire internet because the internet is full of terrible plumbing advice from forums in 2004.
Right.
You want it trained only on the retailer's own brain. Vendor manuals, installation guides, return data, local building codes.
So it's a walled garden. It only knows what is true for that specific store.
Precisely. And the second reason is where the tech gets really cool. Edge computing.
We hear the edge a lot. For the non-technical listener, what does that actually mean in a store?
It means the brain of the AI lives locally, literally inside the store or even on the device itself. It's not sending your question to some server farm in Virginia and waiting for an answer.
And why is that so critical? Is it just about speed?
Speed is a huge part of it, yeah. It has to be instant to feel conversational. If there's a 3-second lag, the conversation just dies. But it's also about context.
Wow.
An edge model knows the live inventory of that specific building at this specific second. It knows aisle 4 is closed for cleaning. It knows that a shipment of drills just hit the loading dock 5 minutes ago. A cloud model just can't have that granularity.
So let's visualize this. The article coins this term the ambient expert. I love that imagery. It's like the expertise is just in the air. What does this look like for the 19-year-old employee on their first Saturday shift?
It completely changes their workflow. It's not just an app on a phone, though that's part of it. The source talks about a few form factors. The most compelling one is the wearable.
Like a headset.
A smart headset, or even just a lapel badge.
Yeah.
Imagine the employee is restocking shelves. Hands are full. A customer walks up and asks, "Hey, can I use this specific mortar for a shower floor?"
In the old world, the employee has to drop the box, pull out their phone, unlock it, search a clunky website, or walk over to a computer terminal.
The connection's broken.
Yeah.
In this new world, the employee just asks the air, "Hey, is this mortar rated for wet environments?" And the ambient expert whispers the answer right into their ear instantly. "No, that's for dry application only. Recommend the polymer-modified version in the next bay."
That is a superpower. It makes the novice sound like a 20-year veteran.
And it preserves the human connection. This is key. The employee is looking at you, the customer, not at a screen. They're just the interface for the intelligence.
The article also mentions customer-facing stuff, like smart shelves.
Yes. For high-consideration areas like appliances or flooring, imagine holding your phone up to a QR code on the shelf. The AI doesn't just list specs, it asks you questions.
And this leads to those aha moments. The specific use cases where this tech actually saves the sale. I really like the flooring example.
Because it touches on that regional nuance we talked about.
Right.
This is huge. A generic AI might just say, "Oh, hardwood is beautiful." But a domain-specific model running in a store in, say, humid Florida, it knows better. If a customer says they're installing in a basement, the AI prompts the associate. Ask about moisture levels. Warn against solid hardwood. Pivot to engineered vinyl.
That saves the customer from an absolute disaster. It stops the floor from warping 3 months later.
And it saves the store from a $2,000 return. It's loss prevention through intelligence.
There's another use case that I think makes the CFOs happy, upselling, but not the annoying kind.
The helpful kind. This is where that margin data comes in. The AI knows what's in the customer's basket. Let's say they have a gallon of paint. The AI knows the store has a surplus of premium painter's tape that has a really high margin.
So it just nudges the associate.
It prompts them. Don't forget to ask if they have edge lock tape. It turns an order taker into a real salesperson. But it feels helpful because, frankly, you do need the tape.
If you get home without it, you're annoyed, it closes the loop.
Exactly.
And we've focused on the retailer, but the source brings up a really interesting angle about the CPG brands. You know, the companies that actually make the drills and the shampoo.
Rare.
They usually lose control the second their product hits the shelf.
This is the last 3 feet problem. A company like DeWalt or L'Oreal spends millions on R&D and marketing, but if the kid in the aisle just shrugs and says, "I don't know, I think the other one is better," all that money is just wasted.
So how does the ambient expert fix that?
It democratizes the narrative. If the AI is trained on the brand's official manuals and selling points, then the advice given in a store in Seattle is consistent with the advice in Miami. The brand story stays intact.
That's powerful. It's like having a brand ambassador in every single aisle.
And for the field reps, the people visiting stores, it gives them data. They can query the system. What questions are customers asking about our new drill? If everyone is asking about battery life, hey, maybe the packaging needs to change, it creates this feedback loop that just never existed before.
Let's pivot back to the human element. We talked about high turnover. Does this tech just accept turnover as a fact of life, or does it actually help fix it?
It completely redefines onboarding. The source talks about learning in the flow of work.
Which is just a fancy way of saying learning by doing.
But with a safety net. Instead of 2 weeks of boring videos in a back room, which nobody retains anyway, you put the new hire on the floor on day 2. They have this co-pilot in their ear. Every time they answer a customer's question using the AI, they learn the answer too. It's conversational microtraining.
So they get competent faster. And they probably feel way less stressed because they aren't afraid of looking stupid.
Exactly. And this is crucial. There's a feature called knowledge capture. Let's say you do have a veteran employee, a true expert. And they know some trick about installing a specific ceiling fan that isn't in any manual.
The tribal knowledge.
Yeah.
The stuff that only exists in Bob's head.
Right. The system can capture that. The veteran can literally just verbally add a note to the system. Hey, for this model, warn the customer to tighten the left screw first. Now, when that veteran retires next month, that tip doesn't leave, it stays.
That's the game changer. The building itself gets smarter, even as the people turn over.
It turns expertise into a permanent asset of the location.
And this all leads back to the big psychological theme of the article, which is the return of confidence.
That's the real so what of this whole deep dive. Why do we still go to stores? Why not just buy everything online?
To reduce the anxiety of making a mistake.
Precisely. We call it assortment versus assurance. The internet has infinite assortment, but physical retail is the only place that can offer that high bandwidth assurance. When a customer feels confident, when they understand why this $500 tool is better than the $200 one, they buy the expensive one.
And they feel good about it. They don't feel ripped off.
I feel empowered.
Yeah.
And that builds loyalty. You go back to the place that made you feel smart.
So, to summarize where we're heading,
Mm-hmm.
we're moving from a model where we just cross our fingers and hope the good guy is working this Saturday,
Right.
to a model where that expertise is ambient. It's accessible to every employee everywhere instantly.
The master craftsperson isn't physically in the aisle, but their brain is. And it's available to everyone.
It's a fascinating shift. It seems to suggest the future of retail isn't about replacing humans, but about, I guess, augmenting them, giving them a prosthetic brain.
It takes the cognitive load off the human. You don't have to be a database anymore. We're actually terrible databases. We forget things, we get tired, we have bad days. The AI is a perfect database.
Which leads me to a final thought I want to leave with you. This wasn't explicitly in the text, but it feels like the natural conclusion. If the expert part of the job, the facts, the specs, the logic, is now handled by the software, what is the human left to do?
That's the big question, isn't it? If you aren't the fact holder, who are you?
Maybe. Maybe it frees the human up to do the one thing the AI really can't do. Empathy. Connection. Understanding the stress of the project.
The AI knows the thread pitch of the faucet, but only a human knows how frustrating it is to have a leaky sink on a Saturday when your in-laws are coming over in 3 hours.
Exactly. The AI provides the competence, but the human provides the understanding. And maybe that combination is what actually saves retail.
It's a compelling vision. High-tech enabling high-touch.
Well, next time you are standing in that plumbing aisle feeling lost, just imagine a little voice in your ear telling you exactly what to grab. It might be closer than you think.
I certainly hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the disappearance and potential return of the expert. Keep learning, stay curious, and good luck with that project. We'll see you next time.